Hello, welcome to Chrissy Incognito channel. I am your host, Chrissy Incognito. Now, some of you might be wondering why I am incognito. This is my alter ego that can say things that I could not otherwise say unless I was incognito. So, welcome. Thank you. Okay, so this episode will be entitled Brian. Now, this might be a little bit long of an episode, but um, I need to start out from the beginning with Brian. So this was probably the beginning of 94. I was just put on medicine to control my OCD, panic disorder, and depression. So I'm somewhat stable. And so we're in a class together. And um, I noticed him a few times. He was behind me, walking kind of close, like not being like stalkerish or creepy, but almost like wanting to say something, but not being able to. So I was coming out of this class one day, and my friend said, I think that guy behind you, we're walking out. I think that guy behind you likes you. I was like, said to her, "Well, he better not get close because I don't know him and he's a creeper and whatnot." Okay. So the next day, I was like, that's it. I was like, I am turning around and telling this guy off. How dare he like creep on behind me when I'm suffering with all of this anxiety? So I wanted so badly to tell him off. But when I went to go tell him, he was like, "Hi." And I was like, "Oh, hi." He's like, "You're Chrissy, right?" And I said, "Yeah." We just started to talk from there. So, and we joked about it later on that it came from, "I'm gonna tell you off," to, "Now we're dating." Okay. So it's just a natural progression. We started to talk, and then we started to hang out, and then we started to meet up and all of that stuff. I can say that Brian is the one that got away, and I was so dysfunctional in this relationship, and he was so patient and tolerant, and he was just the stable one. And I know I messed up this relationship. However, there was no way that I could have been functional. There was too much going on. I was still suffering with all of my anxiety and fear of contamination and everything like that. So we went out for about 2.5 years. So it was probably from the beginning of 94 to the end of 96. And so the following year, 97, was the Robert story. So this is between 1993 and 1997 episodes. So we had a really good relationship. Now, part of the thing was Brian, I think he was about like 19 when I met him, and I had just like turned 20. He had never had a girlfriend. He never like I had all sorts of boyfriends, regardless of whether they were serious or not. It's just that there was always like a boyfriend, right? Even in elementary school, I had boyfriends, and even if I didn't have a like a steady, I always had somebody that was sort of interested. So he never had anything. So this relationship really meant a lot to him. This was like his first real, out of high school relationship. The only thing that he told me is that he went to the senior prom and he took a girl who wound up sleeping with someone else at the prom. When you go to the party and you sleep over somewhere after the prom. I didn't do that. I went right to bed. I was like, I don't have time for this. Um, they went away, all your friends and everything go away, and then, like, maybe for a weekend or overnight or whatever it is, and he was there, and the girl wound up sleeping with somebody else that was also at that party or whatever gathering. So that was kind of weird, like, and again, it wasn't his girlfriend, it was just like, "Oh, you wanna go? Yeah, I wanna go, you wanna go?" So that was all that he knew of or had. Um, so the relationship with Brian was really, really good, and I did not know how good it was. It was hanging out all the time, going to his pool, we would hang out at his pool, hang out at his house. We would go places, we would do things. We got along, he was funny. Um, but then there's the intimate part. Now, if you remember from the Michael episode, what a debacle that was as far as um intimacy and how that turned out. So you'd have to hear that episode in order to know what I'm talking about. And then we're coming off of the AIDS scare of 1993 episode that I talked about. So between those two things, plus my OCD and unstable behavior, I did not let him get physically close, which I'm sure confused the hell out of him. Um, Again, he didn't know if this was normal. He probably knew it wasn't, but and I I would have handled so many things different now, but now it's like 100 years later. I know so much more now to be able to navigate and manage that situation. Um, he was a mama's boy, so I always wanted him to choose me over his mother. His parents were great. They were nice. They weren't really interfering or anything, but still, like, your mom is treating you like kid. Why aren't you saying something? Your mom is still like coming in with her little folded clothes, like, why can't she just leave it downstairs and you'll get it later? You know, those kind of things that I think it had more to do with I wanted to be important, the important one. I wanted him to stand up and say, "We're busy right now. I'll get it later. Just leave it." Instead of her coming in, we're watching TV, coming in and having to put away his little clothes and fold it in the drawer and him, her being like, "Oh, don't forget this, don't forget that." And I would be like, "You want to do something about that?" Said, "You want to say something? Like, we're in here. I mean, we're not doing anything, but we're in here trying to be alone watching TV, and she's coming on in with her little, like, folded boy clothes, like." And he's like, "Well, what do you want me to do? She's my mother." I'm like, "Say something." So that seemed to be a big prompt of fights, and he would not fight. He would just kind of take the brunt of it. But there were times that I was so unhinged. I would be yelling, and at one day we had a fight. I should say I had a fight because it was really my fault. And I was yelling and waving my arms all over the place and being all like animated and everything. And then when it was over, he said to me, "I thought you were gonna hit me." I was like, "I'm not gonna hit you, but I'm pissed." And then that just kinda always stuck in my brain because I was acting so unhinged that he felt unsafe. And that is something only later in life did I have to examine. And like, now I would be like, I'll get to that in a minute.